Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace be upon you all, and welcome to a new Finding Truth podcast. And once more, today we have Professor Dr. Amr Arafa with us for the second installment of marveling on God's creation in the human skeleton. And today he is going to tell us about the human hand. So first, if you have not seen the first installment, I highly recommend that you do, and this is how the thumbnail looks. So we talked there about the human skeleton in general, and with more emphasis on the lower part of the body, so the feet, the knees, and the hip. And today we are going to have a deep dive with the marvels of those human hands that have been a great contributor to human civilization. Amr, how are you today?
Well, Ahmed, I'm fine, alhamdulillah. I hope you hear me quite well. Do you?
Yes, I do. So maybe we should share the presentation and go ahead with it. Okay, so it seems that we lost Dr. Amr. Probably his connection has failed, so if we just give him a minute to connect back. Hello.
Do you read me, Ahmed?
Yes, now I do.
Yes.
So your connection seems to have went down.
Oh.
So yes, I can see you now.
Well, actually, the connection is very bad today. I hope that it will continue and we will be able to finish. Anyway,
Inshallah, we will.
So I'm happy to join you again. Thank you for the opportunity the second time. Today, we're going to talk about the marvels of the human hand. And actually, the hand is a very fascinating tool that we all have. And mashallah, it's specifically designed to be able to give us the chance to reach out into the world and do a lot of things. So I hope today it will be a beneficial presentation, inshallah, and you'll enjoy it.
Inshallah, we will. So would you like to share the presentation from your side, or shall I do?
Yes. Maybe I can try it from my side first, and if something goes with the connection, then we can try yours.
All right.
Okay. So I'm sharing the presentation now. Do you see it?
So yes, I do. So okay, here we go.
Okay, so let's start, inshallah. And if at any point of time you can't hear me or something goes wrong, please tell me.
All right, I will. The presentation is coming up very slow from your side, so maybe we would rather do it from my side. I think we would rather do it from my side. Okay. Hey, we have it now. Okay, so let's go.
That's you. Okay, so the title is The Ingenious Design of the Human Hand, a testament to the designer.
All right.
The first thing, the first thing that really got me started was I was reading in the Quran, and then I came across this ayah. أَيَحْسَبُ الْإِنسَانُ أَنْ لَنْ نَجْمَعَ عِظَامَهُ. Does man think that we shall not gather his bones? And the verse that comes after this immediately is بَلَا قَادِرِينَ عَلَى أَن نُسَوِّيَ بَنَانَهُ. Yes, we are able to make complete his very fingertips. So what's so amazing about creating the fingertips and making the fingertips so complete? Let's see. So I thought about dividing the presentation into several parts, talking about how the hands are a marvel of.
You choose the translation of meaning here to be بَلَا قَادِرِينَ عَلَى أَن نُسَوِّيَ بَنَانَهُ. It is like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is confirming that He is able to perfect His fingertips. So not to make them even, to make them perfect.
Yes, to make them perfect.
Or to proportion
means,
them. Yeah.
actually, we use nusawi when yes, to proportion them. He specifically mentioned as a proof of the ability to create. So he did talk about any other part of the body, not about the brain maybe, but he specifically talked about the fingertips. So there has to be something amazing within the fingertips as proof of how we'll be able to resurrect us and gather our bones, as in the previous verse.
All right.
Okay. So the first thing is the fingertips are actually amazing devices. First, from the not just about the way they move and the functions that they deliver, but from the very beginning, they are sensory organs. When we reach out our hand into around us, the input that comes into the brain comes mainly from some things that we touch with our hand. So the fingertips are amazing sensory organs. As you see here in the slide, the skin has specific receptors for different sensations. So we have thermoreceptors for the heat. We have specified receptors for touch and specified receptors for pressure within the skin. This is found all over the body. But what is amazing about fingertips is something that we call touch sensitivity. The sensory receptors are distributed in the skin all over the body, but they are not distributed with the same density. So you will find areas of skin where the receptors are a bit scarce, and areas where the receptors are plentiful. So to test this device, it is just a compass, as you see. You try to discriminate if the person will be able to identify being touched by two different points. What is the smallest distance that you need to be able to discriminate the 2 points as 2 points, not one single point? Okay. So
all right.
This test is used, for example, over the back, and here it's used over the fingertip. And when you actually measure the distance, you will find that over the fingertip, you can identify different points if they are 3 millimeters apart. Okay, so something such as this mosquito, for example, with the feet standing on the fingertip, you will be able to recognize that there is a mosquito because you feel that there are multiple points that are touching you. Okay, but if you actually measure this same distance over the back, for example, you will find that the 2 points have to be closer than 3.6 centimeters to be able to discriminate them as, farther than 3.6 to be able to discriminate them as 2 points. If you are touched by something that 2 points that are 1 centimeter apart, you will not be able to discern them as 2 points. You will feel them as one single point. So if this same mosquito, for example, stands on your back, you won't be able to feel it. So what is amazing here is that because the fingertips are specifically designed to be receptors that give us the touch sensation when we touch the things around us, the touch receptors are concentrated in the fingertips. Actually, the organ with the most concentration of touch receptors is the tongue, followed after that by the fingertips.
Okay, so in terms of order of magnitude, we are looking at instead of 80 millimeter almost, it goes down to 8 millimeters or to 3
Yes, less
millimeters.
than 8
actually.
millimeters, from 3 to 8 millimeters.
3 millimeters.
Yes.
So if something
this
is 3
gives
millimeters apart, we can
this
feel it.
gives, yes, if it is on your finger, but if it is
on the finger.
anywhere else, you won't be able to feel it as, yes, you will, it has to be at a wider distance, because the concentration of the touch receptors in that area is less than in the tip of the finger. So this is how the finger is specifically designed to be able to carry on the sensory function when you reach out into the world.
Excellent. All right.
Okay.
Amazing.
Another thing is about the pain sensation. Okay. So in addition to the receptors that we talked about, the heat receptors and the cold receptors and the touch receptors and so on, we have the pain receptors. These are specific receptors that are, again, activated by temperature or by chemicals or by pressure or by cold. But when the temperature becomes an extreme temperature, okay, or when the pressure is extreme pressure causing damage to the tissues. So you perceive this as pain, okay? The pain receptors are found in the skin in abundance, and they are found also in other parts of the body, maybe in some deep tissues as well, but they are mainly widespread in the superficial areas of the skin and very few in the deep tissues. So again, a differential distribution of these pain receptors according to where they are actually needed, because the skin all over the body is the organ that is in contact with the outside environment. So it is the organ that needs to be properly designed to feel any danger that you be exposed to and try to prevent, to protect you from it.
All right.
Okay.
Amr, I'm already displaying the presentation full screen, so you can disable the camera on your side to make the connection for the voice better.
Okay. So you'd like me to disable the camera?
Yeah, for now, because I'm putting the presentation full screen. All right.
So I stopped using the camera.
All right. Okay.
Okay. So now it's okay.
Yeah, we can still see the presentation and your voice is better. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So we were talking about the distribution of the pain receptors that is specifically done in a way where the outer of the body, which is these areas, to be able to detect the dangerous stimuli that come from the surrounding environment. So yes, there are other pain receptors in the deep tissues, but they are not as abundant as in the skin. And the sensations usually that they provoke are vague and dull sensations, not like the sharp sensation of pain that comes when you are exposed, for example, to a hot object or a cold object by your fingertip or by your hand or anywhere in the skin, actually.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
If you look at the layers of the skin, we have the epidermis. This is the outer layer. Then we have the dermis, and this is the layer that usually contains the hair follicles and the sweat glands and the nerve endings. These nerve endings are the nerve endings which usually feel the pain. And then after that, we have the subcutaneous tissue or the fat layer. If somebody is exposed to a burn because of excess heat from the surrounding environment, if the heat causes damage only to the epidermal layer, which is the outer layer of the skin, this will cause a first-degree burn. Okay, this first-degree burn is somewhat painful, but not very painful, because the nerve endings are mainly in the dermal layer. If you're exposed to a second-degree burn, which burns the outer epidermis and then part of the dermis as well, it reaches the free nerve endings of the pain receptors, and that's why the second-degree burns are the most hurtful and painful types of burns. Okay.
All right.
The third degree burn is a burn that will burn the epidermis, the dermal layer, as well and reach it will burn the whole skin actually. So it will reach the subcutaneous fat and the whole skin is burned. And surprisingly, these third degree burns, though they are more severe, yet they are not painful. Why aren't they painful? Because the pain receptors that were found in the dermis are completely burnt up. So they are not functioning anymore. So you don't feel pain sensation from that area of the skin that has been burned. Okay?
Yeah, actually, if those were we still had sensation, it would drive us crazy, right?
Yes, of course. But the most significant type of pain comes from the second degree burn rather than from the third degree burn. That means from a burn of the epidermis and the part of the dermal layer, but not the whole skin.
Okay.
Then we come to the amazing verse that we have from Surah An-Nisa. إن الذين كفروا بآياتنا سوف نصليهم نارا كلما نضجت جلودهم بدلناهم جلودا غيرها ليذوقوا العذاب إن الله كان عزيزا حكيما. As for those who disbelieve in our communications, we shall make them enter fire. So oft as their skins are thoroughly burned, we will change them for other skins, and they may taste the chastisement. Truly Allah is mighty and wise. So it is amazing that Allah is pointing out that in hell.
Yeah. Just the translation here is a little bit strange. So who disbelieve in our ayat is typically translated into signs. Okay. All right.
So if I may say it in my own words, Yani, for those who disbelieve in our signs or verses, we are going to punish them with fire, and whenever their skins are completely maybe well cooked, okay, not just well cooked, or we will exchange them with other skins so that they may feel the punishment, because Allah is wise and mighty.
Yeah. So the thing here is that he is referring to changing the skin, and we know from your presentation now that this upper layer of the skin, if the skin is fully cooked, that is, it has reached beyond the skin, then there is no more sensation. So the hellfire loses its meaning in terms of punishment.
Yes. So Allah will change them with new skin that has new pain receptors that can perceive the pain so that they may feel the pain again. So, of course, Yani, I think it is an amazing fact. And Yani, this slide here shows us the perfect use of the word. Actually, as you see, the nerve endings, they transmit the signal, and there are a lot of proteins of the membranes of the nerve fibers that are involved in the process of the transmission. And we know that when protein is exposed to heat, denaturation occurs. It is irreversible unfolding of the 3D specific shape of the protein, breaking down into the polypeptide chains and breaking down the function of the protein as well. So actually, when the protein is well cooked, as this egg is well cooked, the protein becomes denaturated. It loses its function. It loses its 3D specific shape, so it can no longer send a signal. And so the use of the word, when their skins are well cooked, is an exact use of the situation that actually happens.
Actually, what you are saying it always draws my attention. So I make plenty of live streams and videos, as you know, And it occurs to me that the translation of the Quran, actually, most of them, and I will not be, I wouldn't be very unfair if I say all of them. Um, when you have scientific knowledge for what you are talking about, you are typically not satisfied with the translation. So even for
Yes.
this ayah and the one before and the one before, ayat cannot be fairly translated into communications. Nadijat is not burnt,
Yes.
etc. So and even
Not
ليذوقوا العذاب, the best thing is that they taste the punishment actually. And it
yes.
just reminds me of what you have said. I don't think there is any coincidence in the Quran, but you have just said that the density of the neurons in the tongue is the highest, and then
Yes.
in the skin, and specifically the ones in the and the topmost in the skin is in the hand. So when he says لِيَذُوقُوا
Yeah.
الْعَذَابِ, I think this is also pointing to the fact that the highest level of sensation is in the tongue, because taste is in the tongue. So he says, you will
Yes.
have you.
Right.
I will give you the highest level of sensation, like what you have in your tongue. So
Yes. The
much of
more
the
that you
Quran
read in
is
the
actually
Quran
lost.
and
Yeah,
yes, the choice of the words is amazing. Nadijat here is the word that we use when we're talking about cooking food at home. So
yeah,
the use of nadijat juluduhum when they are fully cooked or they are fully done. Okay, when something
yeah,
is well done, the meat is well done. Uh,
yeah.
they will no longer feel pain, and so they will have to be replaced with new skin so that they may feel the pain in the skin from the effect of the fire and the burning sensation around them.
Yes, yes, yes. I think even the best translation for
So
بدلناهم جلودا غيرها will be, we will replenish their skin.
yes, yes.
Yeah. All right.
Uh,
So
so
amazing.
so
Hmm.
the fingertips are amazing sensory organs. They have the highest concentration of touch receptors to be able to perceive very fine and specific objects, and they have also the pain receptors as well. Um, and in addition to that, they do an amazing function actually. This is something that is called stereognosis. And it is a game that we used to play with each other when you hide some things in a box and then try to figure out what they are just using their hands. So all the input that is coming into your brain is not dependent on any other sensation other than the touching sensation. So there's no vision here. You're simply just using your fingertips, the banan that Allah has mentioned, and using these fingertips to identify the objects. So if this child takes the spoon, he will be able to understand that this is a spoon. If he takes,
Hmm.
for example, this towel, he will understand that this is a towel. And it is all happening through the input system that is coming from these amazing fingertips.
And this is because of the high density of the neurons, or something else too.
It is not high density of neurons. It's the highest density of the touch receptors. Okay, specifically, yeah,
Yeah,
the touch receptors.
yeah. So the high density of the touch receptors, or something else too.
No, it is just the ability to feel the different the roughness of the object, the size of the object, so you will be able to guess what this object is
Yeah.
because you have actually if you put something there that you haven't seen ever before, you won't be able to know it. But if you know something that you regularly use, your hand will recognize it immediately.
Yes, I see. I'm also thinking with you that it is the touch receptors. It is also this amazing ability of the brain to interpret the position of the different bones and muscles of the hand, and then
Of
map
course.
this into a 3D image in the brain. So you can actually reconstruct a 3D figure by
Yes.
not just the touch receptors, but also, I'm not sure, but also with what, but with the understanding of the brain of the current 3D location of the different parts of the hand. I think this
Yes.
feature alone is also quite amazing. To be able to see with your hand is actually
and
seems
that's why it's
amazing to
called
me.
that's why it's called stereognosis. So it is the يعني identification of more than one dimension, or using both hands to be able to identify the size and the 3D aspects of the object.
Yes, amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the fingertips are specifically designed to be amazing sensory devices with a sensory input into the human being. But they are also an incredible output device. I mean, they give us a lot of information and data simply by the fingertips themselves. So the first thing and the obvious thing, of course, is the fingerprint. Okay. The idea that there is a specific fingerprint at the end of the fingertip that is very, very specific for each and every person. And actually, the National Forensic Science Technology Center states that no two people have ever been found to have the same fingerprints, including identical twins. So this means that not only the fingerprints are different among the people in the population, but they are different even among the creation of human beings since human beings started until now. So imagine the number of fingerprints that have been created and different patterns that have been created and are very specific for each person. So for example, if we have the fingerprint of somebody who died 50 years ago, it will not match the fingerprint of any new human being now. So
Wow.
it is an amazing ability to be able to create that number of patterns. So we are 8 billion people living now currently. If you multiply this by the 10 different fingers, you will find currently living that amazing number of different patterns being created, and none of them is similar to the other. Okay.
And I want to ask you something here. When we were talking about the ayah بلا قادرين على أن نسوي بنانا, this is why actually I asked you that you have chosen نسوي in terms of make proportioned or make complete or perfect, because
Perfect.
I'm wondering if it also have, because نسوي is also coming from مساواة, being the same. So I'm wondering
Okay.
if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen this specific word because it has the double meaning, one of being perfect and another one of being equal. So he says, I have given you the feature of having an identity in your fingertips. I could have made it that you are all equal in that. I'm not sure if that is
Yes.
a possible interpretation also or not, but what you are saying, that even not only does does every one of the 8 billion persons on earth has a different identity in his fingertip, but even it is unique versus those who have died. So it
Yes.
is essentially nusawiya here, I think, because the Quran, when it chooses a word that has many meanings, in many cases I see that it's choosing this specific word because he means all the different meanings, not just one meaning. So
Yes.
I'm wondering if this is also related to this matter of forensics. Yeah.
And what you're saying is very, very realistic. The idea that you say that your identity is in your fingertip, that is a real very good representation of the meaning, because actually the fingerprints become a sort of testimony to what you have done. And this is actually what we do in forensic medicine. If somebody touches a piece of glass, then they actually fingerprints and identify the person this glass. And it is
Yeah.
also used if somebody, for example, in murder investigations and so on. So the fingerprint that your fingertips, as you're passing through your day, touching different objects, touching touching everything with your hand, actually, that you're working with, or that you're eating, or that you're or another person or another human being. If you imagine that you're leaving a print of yourself, a print of your own identity on every single thing that you touch and every single action that you do by touching throughout your day, and then somebody comes and collects this data after you, and maybe he will be able to tell you, you touched this, and then you went to do that, and then you went to do this. It will tell the story of what you are actually doing with your life. So actually, fingerprints are testimony of what your actions are. And then you come to this amazing verse again in the Quran in Surah An-Nur. يوم تشهد عليهم ألسنتهم وأيديهم وأرجلهم بما كانوا يعملون. On the day when their tongues and their hands and their feet bear witness, I would say tashhad means to testify. That is the exact translation of the word tashhad. When your feet and your hands and your tongues testify against you as to what you have done. So it is amazing that the fingertips, which are in our hands, have the identifier that leaves a mark of yourself on everything that you do all throughout your day and your life. And in the end, they will be able to tell the story of what you have done. Even if you try to deny it, even if you try to run away, they will bear witness and testify of what you are doing. This is repeated in the Surah Yasin. اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم, as if their hands and their fingers and their fingertips are talking to us. Okay? On that day we will set a seal upon their mouths, and their hands shall speak to us, and their feet shall bear witness of what they earned.
Yes, subhanAllah.
So this is the so the fingers are, they give us information, they give us data, and the data is very specific and for each person and his identity. But we use the fingertips as well for many things. For example, commonly now we all know that oxygen saturation can be measured in the blood, can be measured from the fingertips. Okay.
Yeah.
The pulse wave is can be drawn from the fingertips. Even a lot of diseases, for example, like the yellow fingers usually point to somebody who has jaundice. The blue fingers point to somebody who is suffering from decreased oxygenation in his blood. The clubbing of the fingers usually points to many chronic diseases like liver disease and so on. So actually, the fingers, though they seem to be very simple devices, but they give us a lot of information about the whole body and its health in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have seen the fingertips.
So
as
it is already
devices.
making a testimony even in this life.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
We have seen the fingers acting as a sensory input, the fingers acting as an output from which we can gather information, and which is a form of testimony of our actions. And then we are going to look now about the superior design of the hand in general, and the fingers as well, of course, for optimal function as devices that connect us with the world. Okay? So the first thing, the design for protection. I mean here how the hand is specifically designed to protect itself from danger. Okay? Because it is, you usually reach out with your hand, your surroundings. So the organ which is most at risk of being injured is your hand.
Yeah.
So the first thing that is amazing about the hand is the skin thickness in the hand. Actually, the skin all over the body is not of equal thickness. We have thin skin and we have thick skin. Okay? The thin skin, the epidermal layer is very small. In the thick skin, the epidermal layer is very, as you see in the histological slide here, the epidermal layer is very thick. Amazingly, the area with the thinnest skin is in the eyelid. And this is because, of course, the eyelid is actually opening and closing and opening and closing and opening and closing for the entire time. And you don't need to go about feeling as if you are carrying a heavy weight in your eyelid. So the skin here is very thin. It is less than half a millimeter. Okay. When you go to the palm of the hand and the soles of the feet, these are the two areas with the thickest skin in the body. So the skin here is 3 millimeters. So Allah, when He created us and created our skin, He didn't make it even all over our body. The areas where the skin is mostly exposed to possibly being damaged, the skin is very thick. So it is in the soles of the feet, because of course we use our feet to tread the ground and different surfaces. And yes, these are the areas with the thickest skin in the body. So this is the first feature that will protect your hand from harm. For example, if you're touching, for example, a piece of glass or being pricked by a thorn, this thorn, if it pricks the skin on the dorsum of the hand or it pricks the skin in your forearm, it will penetrate. But if it pricks the skin in your palm, because it is thick, it is less likely to penetrate. So you are protected.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So yeah.
The other thing is something called deflection. The other thing is deflection withdrawal reflex. So, yeah, would you like to say something?
I would like you, if you might try to directly speak in the mic of the laptop, rather than using the Bluetooth earpieces, because I think they are cutting off.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Would you like me to disconnect them then?
Maybe.
Okay. So do you hear me now?
Yeah, I do.
Do you hear me, Ahmed?
Yeah, I do hear you. It's okay.
Is this better?
A little bit. We have a comment here from a viewer. He says, ironically, an atheist argues, if there is a creator, why did he design the hand so brittle and weak and designed for fighting? He was discussing with an MMA fighter. Okay. So can we also say that maybe the thickness of the skin would have been counterproductive to the sensation? If you have very thick skin at a certain part of your body, then the sensation would be not as sharp as where you have little bit of thinner skin.
Actually, it is not related to the thickness of the skin. It is related more to the number of touch receptors that you have in that area. So the skin in the hand is the thickest skin all over the body, and it is the one with the highest concentration of receptors. So again, it is the most sensitive. So it has both features. The thickness of the skin here does not decrease from the sensitivity of the skin or the ability of the hand to feel the different touching sensations.
Okay, so thank you for explaining that. So, but the feet are still even thicker than the hand, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the hand has the thickness of the skin from one side to protect it from damage, and from the other side, it also has high concentration of touch receptors, so it is both protected and sensational.
Yes, it is both protected and highly sensitive.
Highly sensitive, yes. Not sensational, sensitive, yeah.
Okay.
Amazing.
The second thing that will protect it, of course, there are a lot of mechanisms, but I'm highlighting how it is designed in a way to protect itself, because it is the one organ that is mostly at risk. Okay. So there is the flexion withdrawal reflex. When you touch something that is painful, for example, such as a hot flame or any painful thing, instinctively and without thinking, you withdraw your hand away to protect your hand from damage.
Yes.
As you see here in this slide, you simply take the input that feels the pain sensation on the hand, it goes to the spinal cord, and the reflex arc comes back immediately. It does not have to go to the brain. it eventually goes to the brain, but already after you have taken the action and withdrawn your hand from the dangerous stimulus. So this is called the flexion withdrawal reflex. And it is another reflex that's there. You don't control it. You cannot control it. And it happens automatically to protect your hand from injury.
Wow. And how does it happen automatically? So which part of the system takes the decision? Yeah. So what tells the arm to withdraw?
Actually, the reflex is initiated in the spinal cord. So the signal goes to the cell in the spinal cord, and the cell in the spinal cord initiates the reflex immediately to take the action.
I didn't know that before.
Okay.
And the reason
these are called spinal reflexes. They are not high reflexes.
Yeah, and the reason this is quite amazing to me, I will tell you why I stopped at it. It is because it is quite similar to something we have in computing and networking, which is called edge computing. Okay? So assume, for example, that you have a car, okay, a self-driving car, for example, okay, and let's say that there is a central computer that is to control the car, okay. So if there is such a computer, we will actually have to distribute the decisions that the car take. Some of the decisions have to happen in the car itself, and some other decisions will be taken by the central computer. So you will typically take the decisions that need to be very responsive. For example, that somebody is right in front of you and you don't want to kill him in the car, using edge computing. And some other decisions you will take centrally, okay? Like, for example, calculating how dense is the traffic, or computing an optimal route or something. So, and this is why 5G technology is very important. It is because 5G technology enables those making decisions on smaller scales and making decisions fast using bandwidth, etc. So you're telling me that this design of taking immediate decisions right at the periphery of the neural network is already implemented in the hand, for example, and this is completely amazing to me.
Yes, it is implemented because there is no time. We cannot wait till the signal goes to the brain and is processed in the brain and comes back. This needs to be a very rapid reflex to protect yourself from the dangerous stimulus. So it happens automatically.
This is absolutely amazing. I would wonder even if this is the same mechanism that controls the eyelid closure when there is a particle that comes to the eye, if this also not need to go to the brain, or because it is already very close to the brain, it goes to the brain. But yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. All right.
So these two mechanisms are examples of the mechanisms that protect the hand from injury from when you are exposed to a dangerous stimulus. But the outer part of the hand, for example, the back of the hand, this needs to be protected again. And the amazing protection that we have at the back of our fingertips are the fingernails. Okay?
The fingernails. All right.
So what are the fingernails? The fingernails are very, very strong structures that are very tough. They are not very sensitive to the touch, but they are sensitive to pressure, and they are resistant to heat. And the amazing thing is that they continuously regenerate, and new nails are produced at a rate of 3 millimeters per month. The nail is of a protein, the keratin that we all know. It is a translucent form of keratin, and keratin is a very hard protein that cannot be dissolved in water or solvents or acids or alkalines. So it is actually a very, very tough tissue that is used to protect your fingertip. Because if you are maybe reaching out with your hand to grab something, and you may, the outer side of the hand is usually the one that is exposed to possibly being in contact with something that you are not aware of, or something that you are not prepared for. So there is a high possibility of being injured in this area. And that's why this tough tissue will protect you from injury.
Wow.
And of course, the fingernails are used for many things. They are very useful for us. We use them for scratching, protection from other persons and insects. We use them for digging. We use them for peeling. We use them to open specific objects. These are objects that have been prepared or designed by us humans because we know that we have the fingernail feature and the ability to open these cans that way. So they are amazing things. In addition to being protective, they are very useful to us as well.
Yeah, and the nice thing is that we use them to do those hard things, but they don't feel the pain. So they are really nice tools.
Yes. Another feature that is very amazing.
This substance, I have always been very intrigued by the fact that this specific substance, the keratin, is just generated exactly at this place and in this kind of very strange mirror-like material. It's is there a gland that produces it, or how does this thing come out?
It is a protein that is produced by the cell, specific cells that are found in this area in the nail matrix. These cells produce the protein, and the protein gets aggregated, and then it grows into the nail. So that's why if you lose this area, the nail matrix, if it is injured for something you won't be able to have to regenerate a new nail.
Yeah, but
so
the
it's just
amazing
a protein
thing
that's being produced by the cell.
The amazing thing to me is that this design, the matter of continuous growth, is very consistent with the function of the nail, which can scratch, dig, open things, get cracked, get damaged, etc. So if you have a damage in the nail and it grows by the rate of 3 millimeters per month, it is just 2 or 3 months away that you will get a completely new nail anyway.
Yes, it is because the outer surface of the nail is frequently exposed to wear and tear from being used, and that's why it has to be replaced. If it is not replaceable, then it will be eaten up very easily by scratching, by digging, by whatever. It will be worn out very easily. So it has to be continuously produced and renewed to be able to continue doing its function throughout your life.
Yeah, so this is a very clear example for how the whole design is very obviously directed to fulfill a function, to fulfill a purpose.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. All right, and even if it's the thing is, yeah, so it can even be used for self-protection, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another feature really that is amazing in the hand, that it is again different than the other parts of the body, is especially in the fingers and the fingertips, is the very high vascularity of the fingers. As you see, the network of blood vessels that supply the hand and supply the fingers are very, very abundant. And the fingers are highly vascular. And this is very important because they are actually doing a lot of work. They are receiving a lot of sensations. They are moving all the time. And at the same time, they are possibly easily injured. And so they must have the capability to heal themselves and repair as much as they can. And all the healing and repair in the body comes from the nutrients and the things that are transferred by blood. So the first essential thing for any tissue to be able to repair itself is having a good blood supply. So the fingers and the hand does not just have a good blood supply, it actually has an amazing blood supply. Actually, the finger, as you see in this slide, is supplied by 4 arteries. So there is an artery on the front, an artery in the back, and one on each side. This is a side view, and this is a top view. So you have on this side an artery in the back and an artery below it in the front, and on this side an artery in the back and an artery below it in the front. So actually, around the finger, there are 4 arteries supplying the finger with blood. Even if one of them is injured, the finger still receives blood from the others, and it can survive and it can repair itself and fully function.
So there is a kind of
So
redundancy in the finger.
Yes, I mean, if you look at these things, the way the design is changed and adapted to provide you with the function that you need. So yes, the skin is designed in a certain specific way all over the body. But when it comes to the hand, it is extremely thick. The sensation is distributed all over the body. But when it comes to the hand, it is highly intense. The blood supply is given to all the tissues of the body. But when it comes to the fingers, it is highly vascular. Because you need all of these features. So it is not just simply creating a design, but creating a design and modifying it to be able to give you the best function and result.
And can you again explain why we need the high level of vascularity in the hand, in the fingers?
High level of vascularity means a high level of supply of nutrients and a high level of supply of oxygen. These are the two things that are mainly transported by the blood. And so the hand is actually performing a lot of functions, a lot of sensations, and a lot of movements. The muscles in the hand are moving. The muscles in the forearm are moving. So they need a rich blood supply. And because they are possibly exposed to injury, if for example, the finger has one single blood vessel from one side, and this side gets injured, or the blood vessel here is cut, this means that the finger will be lost. It will no longer have any blood supply and it will die. But when you have 4 arteries and one of them becomes injured, then no problem. The other 3 arteries will supply the finger with the blood and it will continue to survive and function just as well. And because the repair of the damaged tissue needs nutrients, so the more the tissue is vascular, the higher the ability of the tissue to repair itself and produce new tissue as well.
So if we go back to the comment of our friend who was talking about why the hand is weak and brittle and it is used for fighting, it is actually not this way at all. This objection from atheists has no grounds whatsoever. So the hand is not weak because the skin there is thick. It's very sensitive, so you can really actually use it for fighting and for many other things because you need all the dexterity. And because you can also use it in fighting and digging and scratching and it is so much used in the day-to-day work, it gets exposed to the highest level of wear and tear versus the very protected other parts of the body that have clothes on top of them, etc. It also has all what it needs to immediately repair itself and remain efficient. And if you go in a fight and you are boxing, or you have broken something, or you are digging, or you are holding hard tools, your hand is very well equipped to get regenerated much faster and much better than any other part of the body. This is what you're saying.
Yes.
Amazing.
So I don't know how anybody can call the hand a weak device or a brittle device. It is neither weak nor brittle.
I can tell you why.
Incredible functions, and it performs them consistently and persistently for a lifetime. So I can't imagine how it can be weak.
I can tell you why. I can tell you that the majority of the arguments that I personally hear from atheists, and I have been spending some good time debating with them, are essentially arguments from ignorance. They just throw their ignorance at people, and unfortunately, people trust them because, Amr, there aren't so many of you who are spending time like this time explaining to people the reality of how sophisticated and marvelous and amazingly fitting the purpose that God's design is. So when somebody who
Yes.
lacks honesty and lacks integrity goes on social media or goes onto the media and tells people your hand is badly designed, and some even have the audacity to say the eye is badly designed. I have heard it from many atheists. They say, look at how the human eye is. The octopus eye is better designed because, for example, the human eye has, blood vessels in front of some of the receptors, so it causes a blind spot, or some other stupid
Yes.
arguments. And they're saying this
Yes.
really at the beginning, it is out of their ignorance because they don't know the scientific fact. But what I have noticed is that even after they know the scientific fact, they keep on and on repeating the same nonsense because they are
Yes.
now counting on the ignorance of the audience, because the audience are not specialists. They will just
Yes.
hear this. Look at how your hand is brittle and how it is this and that, and they don't know. They just trust them, and you have people who lose their face because of this nonsense arguments. And so I have to thank you for coming here and explaining this to people. And I hope that those who are listening to this now will share it with their loved ones, because guys, we need to really educate ourselves and educate people who are getting attacked because they have confidence in those people who are abusing their ignorance, or who are actually abusing their confidence.
Yes.
So yeah.
Actually, I'm glad that you see the presentation up till now as a valuable presentation, because I almost haven't started yet.
Oh yeah.
This is
Okay.
this is just an introduction about some amazing stuff about the hand and how it perceives sensations and how it protects itself. But the real amazement will come when you look at the design of the hand to be able to perform the function. And this is what we are going
Okay.
to start just now. The
All
design
right.
for grasp.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the hand, and this is actually my hand,
Okay.
and see the different abilities of the hand to grasp and hold different objects that are completely different in size and shape, as you will see in this small video. So,
Okay.
first, look at the movement of the fingers. It is a smooth movement. It is not jerky. Okay. It is a completely
Mm-hmm.
controllable movement. I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to reach the other fingers. I'm able to touch the finger from the front, touch from the side of the finger as well. And all of these specific maneuvers are specifically designed to be able to hold different stuff and different objects.
Hmm.
So let's look at this is called the pinch. You can hold a
Mm-hmm.
key. This is called a side pinch. Then you can the specific movement of holding a pencil. This is the opposition. I can even carry a whole weight of 20-30 kilograms between just two fingers, and if somebody pulls, I'll be able to resist that quite well. Even with I can hold a small object inside the hand completely, or a larger object and the fingers do not meet, or even a can and I rotate it and I can open and close and so on.
Yeah.
And this is a very large object, a balloon, and this is a surgical instrument because this is my job actually. And
Hmm.
so you can hold different objects with different shapes and you can control them. And it's not just about grasping them, but also purposefully controlling the movement, the position, where you want to put it into space, the acceleration of the movement, the deceleration of the movement, the spatial direction. Where do you want to direct it? Where do you want to put it? How to grasp it? The amount of strength that you need. All of these factors are instantaneous things that happen immediately without even you actually noticing them. But they give you this amazing feature to be able to hold different objects and stuff. So to simplify, there are two types of grip: the precision grip, which is the grip used to handle the small objects, precise movements, and fine movements, like for example the pen or the pencil and so on. And the
Hmm.
other one is called the power grip. and it is the one that we use to hold large objects powerfully and transfer them in space from one place to another, or use it to carry maybe stuff and so on. So these are the two types of grips.
All right.
To be able to grasp, there are a lot of features in the hand that are amazing. The first is the design of the skin of the hand. So when you look at the skin of the hand is not smooth. Okay, actually it is corrugated, and there are dips and so on in the skin. This is not haphazardly designed. It is done this way so that things will not slip from your hand. Imagine you have a smooth skin like that of the dolphin, for example. Whatever object you will try to grasp with this, it will just slip away. So it is not slipping because the skin is designed here with specific roughness that is enough, just right enough for the degree of friction needed to be able to hold the object. So this is the first feature.
And if you are Spider-Man, it will be even more rough.
Okay.
So this is really amazing because I think for some creatures like the gecko, for example, his fingertips has those features where it will not only just be rough, but it will also have like air suction or something. Okay. Or actually it will be extremely rough, so it will have those microscopic things like a jigsaw or something. So it will really stick. But the humans, you're telling me the humans have this very smart compromise between being rough enough to stick to something that you want to hand, but not being, will not scratch or damage a piece of silk or a piece of wool, like
of course.
some other thing is. It's really fine-tuned to what a human needs in terms of his grasp versus not slipping versus being properly handling something.
Yes, of course. So the first thing is the skin and the exact degree of roughness that is needed to be able to hold objects. The other thing that is amazing is the hair. The skin all over the body is hairy skin, okay? What are the two areas of the body that absolutely don't have any hair follicles? They are, again, the sole of the foot and the palm of the hand. So again, because you cannot have hairs inside your hand that would cause the stuff that you're trying to grasp to be slippery and to fall away, there is the skin in the hand is the only skin in the body, together with the sole, that is devoid of hair. Other than that, all other areas of the body have hairy skin with hair follicles. So again, this is a specific design where one of the features of the skin is intentionally removed to provide the function that you need.
Wow, it's completely, and it is not that there was hair and the body loses it. It is by design there is no hair. There is no hair follicles.
Yes, if you take a microscopic section of the skin of the palm of the hand, there are no hair follicles. It is devoid of hair follicles. But if you take a microscopic section of the skin elsewhere in any other place in your body, you will find hair follicles. Maybe you will find abundant hair, maybe you will find a sparse hair, but there are hair follicles, except in the skin of the palm and the sole. Of course, if you have hair in your sole, you will slip. So again, this is a marvelous design.
Yeah, subhanallah. It's a great insight because we take these things for granted.
Yes.
And it's only somebody draws your attention to that you're shocked with something that has been in front of you all the time. So yeah, thank you for this.
So the other, let's start to get deeper. So we talked about the outer layer, the skin. If we go into the design of the hand itself and how it is adapted to the grasping ability, the first thing that you'll notice that the hand is not designed as a flat surface. Okay, there is an arch of the hand that is designed within the hand itself. As you see here, there is a depression. Even if you attempt to extend your hand and open your hand as much as you can, there will still be some depression in the central area where the arch of the hand is, and where something can be grasped or something can be collected in this area. This is
Right.
because the muscles in the area are designed on one side and on the other side. So we have the thenar muscles, or the muscles of the thumb, and the hypothenar muscles, or these are the muscles of the little finger, and they create a form of depression in the middle, or an arch in the middle. This is not just because of the design of the muscles, but it is incorporated into the design of the bones themselves. So if you look at the side of the hand, the bones of the hand, there is an arch here, okay? This arch is actually created not by the metacarpal bones, but by the carpal bones. The bones of the wrist are the ones that create the arch. So these bones in the wrist are arranged in an arched form, and they carry with them the metacarpal bones of the hand, creating the arch with a wider angle in the area that is near the fingers, so in the distal area. So you have the hand itself being prepared from the start to cup things, to hold things, because there is an arch there. And this is a section in the carpal bones where you can see that they are arranged in a way to create an arch. Okay? So
Yeah,
this
it's
is one.
completely amazing.
The other thing here is when you look, so these are the wrist bones or the carpal bones that we have talked about, and they are arranged in a form of arch. The arch is directed to the front, so we don't see it here because we are looking at the picture from the back. Okay?
All right.
These wrist bones are attached to these long bones that are inside the palm of the hand, and we call them the metacarpals. Then we have the fingers. Okay? This is, of course, the thumb, and these are the other 4 fingers. If you look at the joints between these metacarpal bones and these carpal bones, these joints here, this one and that one and that one, though they appear to be doing the same function, but actually they are not. They are not similar. These 2 bones have joints that are almost very stiff. They give only one degree or one plane of movement, which is forward movement flexion and backward movement extension. Okay?
Okay.
And again, the movement here is very limited. The range of movement here is very limited. In these 2 digits, starting the second one with the index finger and the third one of the middle finger. Okay? But when you look at these joints here, they are actually depressed in a concave manner, giving it the movement in 2 planes, forward and backward, extension and flexion, as well as some degree of rotation as well. So these 2 joints are mobile. They have freedom. These 2 joints are stable. And the design in this way is created to have a central stable axis around which these 2 joints, of course, the thumb is highly mobile, around which these 2 sides of the hand can wrap. Okay? So when you flex the hand, as you see here, these 2 digits, the second and the third one, they do not move a lot. They are stable. They are a stable axis in the center. So if you imagine that this is the hand, this is the central area. So this central area is stable. It doesn't move a lot. But these 2 metacarpals here, when they flex, they have a wide range of movement to be able to reach out and cup the hand. Okay? So this is, if you look at this is the second finger, I mean the one that we see in the back, because here is opposing against the little finger. So this is the index, and this is the middle finger. They are stable axes in the middle around which both sides of the hand can wrap. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, it's completely amazing because it is giving it this extra ability to reach out a little bit. So when you are, for example, making you're making it in the form of a fist, it really closes it.
Okay. So you can wrap both sides of the hand on the central stable area. So again, you can create a cup here or a grasping area here or an arch here that is very accentuated to be able to grasp things and control things in the palm of your hand. So for example, you can grasp a ball, you can grasp a large ball, a small ball, all of these in the depression or the arch of the hand that is specifically designed in this area.
Ah, now I get even what you mean here by. So you can, for example, the small ball, you can actually like grab on the, restrict the motion of the small ball by the fact that you can wrap the inner palm of your hand around it because of this
Yes. So
extra
you
degree
don't
of
have to use your
freedom.
fingers here. You are just
Yeah,
moving
yeah,
the
yeah.
metacarpal bones that we talked about. The ones in the center are stable. They are not moving to be able to be the central area on which the ball rests. And the ones on the side, the first one from the thumb and the little one for the little finger, they actually move upwards to wrap around the central axis and create this arch and create this area to hold the ball. So you understand it now?
Amazing. But I even have another observation, because when I first saw this diagram having the metacarpals and then the fingers, mechanically I would have thought that there is a missing, yeah, that there is a missing bone that should be right before the fingers emerge. But if that bone was
Okay.
there to connect the metacarpals, then there would be no degree of freedom at all for the metacarpals to come together, and the
Yes.
area and the size and the shape of the palm of the hand must be totally stable at every point of time. But the missingness of that bone, and this is just flesh,
Well, it is an
is
imaginary
giving.
bone in your head, huh?
It is an imaginary bone in my head. Now I am thinking why this bone is not there. You know what I mean? Because
Okay.
when you look at the hand from
Yes.
after it is covered by flesh and skin, you think that there is a something that is connecting the fingers from their base, but there
Yes.
isn't. And this is actually giving this extra
Yes.
degree of freedom for the palm itself to shape around something without being obstructed by a bone from its end. It's only controlled by this bony structure from its base.
Yes.
And this is now completely amazing that, yeah.
If I can, I use these two photos to show you that when I attempt to flex this second digit, the range of movement is very minimal. Yani it is not flexed forwards that much. But when you look
Hmm.
at this fifth one, it is flexed forward a lot. I'm not talking about the finger. I'm talking about the metacarpal bone itself. So look at how this area becomes depressed because this area is elevated. And look at here, when I'm doing it with the second finger, it is not moving. So the second and third metacarpals are the stable central axis around which these two parts can wrap.
And there is another
Okay?
observation, is that the metacarpals themselves are quite long. So the slightest movement from the side of the joint, due to the length of the metacarpal itself, will give it the ability for this small angle to translate into a significant displacement at the end of the metacarpal.
Yes, a significant displacement in space. Yes.
Yeah, in space. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay,
Uh,
let's look at another amazing feature. We are now going to focus on the fingers themselves. Okay?
mm-hmm.
Again, al-banan, the fingers.
Mm.
The if you imagine your finger and you start moving it, you will think that you are able to control the different joints in the finger. And to some extent, this is true. But actually, the movements of the different joints in the finger are interdependent. They are related to each other, they are coordinated with each other. This is a sketch of the front of the finger. So this is the first phalanx, the proximal one or the one closest to the hand. This is the middle phalanx. No, sorry, this is the metacarpal bone. This is the first phalanx. This is the middle phalanx. And this is the distal phalanx or the outer phalanx. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the
Mm-hmm.
finger. the three bones of the finger, and that's the metacarpal that is inside the palm. Okay?
Yeah.
And this is the front view. So amazingly, we have two tendons in the front that will cause the whole finger to be flexed. So when I move the finger forwards, I'm actually flexing the finger. These two tendons are different. One of them is called the FDS, the other is the FDP. The FDS is the shorter one, and we can remember that the S here stands for the shorter tendon, okay? So the FDS becomes inserted in this area, in the middle phalanx. The FDP becomes inserted into, it passes through a split in the FDS, and it continues its movement till it reaches the final phalanx and gets inserted in the phalanx in the end.
Wow.
Okay?
There is actually a hole in the FDS
Yes.
through which the FDP will like go through.
Yes.
They are like interwoven together.
Yes. So if you look at the FDS, it is inserted in the middle phalanx. Okay. So when this tendon is pulled due to the contraction of the muscle that is here, which joints will it move? It will move this joint, which is the MCP or the metacarpophalangeal joint. Let's call it the MCP. And it will move this joint, which is the PIP. We call it the proximal interphalangeal joint. Let's just name it the PIP. So because it is the shorter tendon that inserts into the middle bone of the finger, when it is pulled and it contracts, it will move these two joints, the PIP and the MCP. Okay?
Okay.
The FDP, on the other hand, passes through the split in the FDS, and it becomes inserted to the terminal bone of the finger. So when this one is pulled, it will actually move the DIP as an additional joint, and it can also flex the PIP and the MCP. Okay?
Okay.
So now, this is a side view of the finger. These are the two tendons that we were talking about, looked at from the front. This is the FDS. This one is the FDS that gets inserted into the middle bone. And so it flexes when it is pulled. If I pull this tendon by the contraction of the muscle here, it will pull that bone forwards. So it will flex the PIP and it will flex the MCP. I'm repeating the same information, but from the side view. Okay?
I'm completely with you.
Are you with me? Okay. This is the other tendon that we talked about, the FDP, that passes through the FDS and continues forward till it is inserted to the terminal bone. So when it is pulled, it will flex the DIP and the PIP and the MCP. Okay?
Wow.
So we have now two tendons that can give us different variations of movements as we want in the different joints of the finger. But that is not all. We also have these two small muscles. These are called the intrinsic muscles. These muscles have short tendons that pass in front of the MCP and then continue to insert behind the PIP and the DIP. So these intrinsic muscles, when they contract, they pull this whole finger structure, but in a way where they will cause flexion of this joint because they are passing in front of it, but extension of these joints because they are passing behind it. You understand?
Yeah, this will essentially give so many different ways where you can move the finger. So you might as well
Yes.
try to move only the last one, move two together and leave the third, move all three together, make it circular, make it like an L shape if you can really do some extra controls.
Yes.
So you have different permutations actually. And I am also wondering if this will also give a level of redundancy or resilience, so that if one tendon is not in very good shape, do the others, the muscles and the other tendons, can they compensate a little bit for?
I'll tell you the answer for this. The answer for this
Okay.
question is actually no. The design is so perfect, and each one of these tendons plays such a specific role that if one of them is lost, the function of the finger will be affected. There are things that will cause dramatic loss of the function of the finger and things that will cause minimal loss of the function of the finger. But in the end, some part of the amazing smoothness and coordination of the movement will be lost if any of these structures gets injured. Okay? So every one of them is performing a specific function in a specific part to create a specific degree of movement that is needed in a certain type of grasp. There is no surplus thing here. All of them are working in harmony and together, each to create the thing that is exactly needed from it.
The amazing
This
thing is that
is,
all of this is autonomously happening without us having to think of it,
yeah.
and this alone is just completely unbelievable.
I'm showing you here a photo to be able to relate where these joints are in reality. So this is the MCP. It is between the metacarpal bone and the first phalanx. This is the PIP, and this is the DIP. And the tendons that we're talking about are passing in front here. One of them, which is the FDS, will pass until it is inserted in the middle bone here. The other one will continue to pass until it's inserted into the terminal bone here. Okay? And then we have the
Okay.
intrinsics coming from here to be inserted on the dorsum, on the back, passing in front of the MCP. What I'm actually what I want to say is that these three
You know
joints
what
are interrelated.
what I'm doing now is that I am trying all the different possible movements with the finger.
Okay.
And I'm relating it to what you are saying. This is completely amazing. And when you see the design and how small the finger is, and all of those details are in there, it's complete. You need somebody who is completely crazy to think that this is driven by chance or by blind evolutionary mechanisms. Completely.
Yes.
There is no other solution except that this is extremely intricately designed. Everything is exactly in its place so that you have a hand
Yes.
that can play the piano or play the guitar or handle a surgical thing or something like a needle and stitch with it, or throw a ball or punch. It can do all different coarse and fine actions and precision actions using the same set of fingers, which is something that we don't have in engineering. You design a
Yes.
tool either for coarse or fine. You don't have the same
Yes.
tool that can do everything. But the hand, due to this amazing design, can actually do so many things.
Yes. So what I
Yeah.
want to say about this slide here is that these three joints in the finger, though each one of them has a specific yani moves in a certain way, but the movement between this one and that one and that one is really coordinated. And when we attempt, for example, to flex the DIP, that means that when I attempt to flex the finger forwards at this joint, automatically it will happen to have some degree of movement here and some degree of movement here. So flexion of this joint will cause some degree of flexion, a calculated degree of flexion of the other two joints to produce in the end a harmonious, smooth movement rather than a jerky movement. And the same happens with extension. If I, for example, extend the DIP, some degree of automatic extension will happen here, and maybe this joint will be affected as well to a certain degree. So the movements between them are not haphazard, they are coordinated. Okay?
Now I see what you mean. So
Yes.
they are this interlacing, this interwoven thing between the tendons and the bones and the joints causes the smooth unwinding of the hand when you are opening your
Yes.
palm, and the smooth circular winding of the fingers into the palm when you are closing it up.
Yes.
There is no
I'm
irregularity
actually
while
going
you're
to
doing this.
I'm going to show you some examples when these functions are lost. Okay?
Ah, okay. All right.
So this is a close-up of my hand, and I'm going to show you in the video how the
Mm-hmm.
movement is so smooth. Look at the
Mm-hmm.
finger. When I
Mm-hmm.
flex this one flexes as well to some degree, and this one flexes as well to some degree. And it happens in
Mm-hmm.
the opposite. When I extend them, one of them, let's see it again. When I extend, start with in the flex position, this one extends, this one moves, and this one moves. And the movement is coordinated to produce this smooth action. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the movements are interrelated to each other. If you look at this slide here,
Mm-hmm.
the PIP can be flexed by the FDS, and it can be flexed to some degree by the FDP. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Because
The
it has effect
MCP,
from both.
on the other hand, yes, the MCP is flexed by some of the action of the FDS and the FDP when they pull, and again with
Mm-hmm.
the intrinsics. So we can say
Mm-hmm.
that there are three muscles here trying to flex the MCP, mainly the
Mm-hmm.
intrinsics. And there
Mm-hmm.
are other muscles here, two muscles that can flex this one, and only one muscle that can flex this one. Okay?
Yeah.
So this amazing ability of the metacarpophalangeal joint of the MCP to flex even at maybe a slightly faster rate than the other two joints is very important when you attempt to close your hand. So when this one
Mm-hmm.
flexes, before these two joints flex, this produces a smooth movement that will allow you to grasp the object. But in some
Hmm.
cases where there is paralysis of these intrinsic muscles, this joint still flexes by these two tendons, but it flexes in a slower rate. So, because these two tendons actually work on these two joints more than on that joint, these two joints become flexed at a quicker rate. So, the finger closes on itself before it starts to enter into the palm of the hand. So, when you attempt to grasp the object, like this situation here, these two joints are flexed and this
Ah.
one is kept extended. So imagine your fingers that are already, you're trying to grasp something in the palm of your hand with your fingers already flexed. You will not be able to hold the
Yeah.
object. So you
Yeah.
understand what I mean now?
Absolutely. Yes. I was actually trying it on my fingers, my own.
Yes.
And
So
it's
this
amazing.
joint is moving at a slightly quicker speed of flexion than the other ones to be able to still bring the fingers into the palm before they close to be able to hold the object. You understand what I mean?
It's completely amazing, and we're taking it for granted. But because the one that is far away is already closing on the one before it, then to complete the circular motion, you need the whole thing also to be moving, so that we have this. You have the grabbing. It will not just the front fingers will fold like you are showing here. So yeah,
Yes.
this is
So this
so.
is one of the features of how these joints are interconnected to each other, and the rate of change here is related to the necessary degree of rate of change here and there to be able to produce the smooth movement in the end that you need. And this is because this one has a specific muscle that does some fine tuning here that is more than the muscles that are doing the fine tuning there and so on. Okay?
Yeah, and all of this autonomously happens. We don't need to think of it. This is the
Yeah.
amazing part. Yeah.
Let's look. So the first case was when the intrinsics was lost and the
Hmm.
MCP started to flex at a slower rate.
Mm-hmm.
This here we have a look at the FDS. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the function of the FDS?
Mm-hmm.
As we see, the FDS is the tendon that goes to insert into the middle bone, and so it flexes mainly the PIP joint and to some extent the MCP as well. So look at this grasp. This is the pinching grasp, the pad
Hmm.
to pad pinching grasp. What is actually happening in this finger is the following. Here,
Hmm.
the thumb, okay, is actually trying to flex itself by the function of the FDP of the thumb. We don't call it the FDP, we call it another muscle, the flexor pollicis longus. But the muscle is trying to flex itself. And the index finger is trying to flex itself as well. But they are providing resistance against each other. So actually this joint, which is the DIP, is trying to flex, but it is being extended by the force of the resistance of the thumb.
Yeah.
Okay? So the DIP is getting extended, though the FDP is trying to actively maintain the flexion. And this is giving it the force of that is impacting the thumb. So the force is by the action of the FDP, and the extended position is by the resistance provided by the thumb.
Yeah.
You are with me?
Yeah.
So extension of the DIP, as we said, will cause some degree of extension of the PIP automatically. But here, the PIP does not extend. Why? Because now the FDS is functioning specifically to prevent this extension movement from occurring, so that the hand will remain in a powerful pinching position.
Yeah.
If this FDS is lost here and it is not functioning here, the extension will passively transfer to the PIP, and the PIP will start to extend as well. But the FDS is preventing this movement from happening by actively contracting here and maintaining the flex position of the FDP. It is clear?
Amazing. Yeah.
Okay.
So you get the bracket change.
Yes. So you eventually get this powerful pinching ability.
Yes.
As you see in this video here, I'm compressing it, and this joint flexes. Why? Because the FDS is powerfully contracting it to maintain the flexed position. So
otherwise if the finger, I'm trying it the other way. If I make the finger as one piece, okay, the index, then it will never deliver the same amount of power, because there is no concentration to the final tip of the force.
Yes.
Yeah, you can only fully understand it. One can only fully understand it when he tries to do it with his finger, actually, to try to move the finger as one piece versus leave it do its business. And when it does its business, the pinch is really strong. So yeah. Amazing. So if you want to hold, for example, I was just going to give this example. If you want to hold a pencil, or you hold to a pin or a surgical element, you want to have really strong control of it. You don't want it to mess up. Hello.
You see here, this is the flexed position of the PIP, as we said, and the position of the distal thumb. And here you are actually holding the pencil and moving it, or the pen and moving it, and you are using power. You can scratch, you can paint, you can do whatever you want with this specific movement.
With control.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. This function becomes very apparent if, for example, we have a finger with a deficient FDS, an FDS that is not working. Actually, some people are born with a deficient FDS in their little finger. Okay?
Okay.
I'm one of these people in my right hand.
So you can test it yourself, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm actually trying to do the same pinch here with my little finger, just as I was doing it with the index. But the position is completely different. You will find here, because the FDS is deficient, the resistance caused by the thumb trying to extend the tip will automatically cause extension of the PIP. So the PIP here is extended. Okay?
Yeah.
So you can see the difference between this one and this one.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
It is clear here that the PIP is flexed and is giving you a powerful pinch, but here it is extended and the pinch is not very powerful. I'm attempting to compensate for this by actively using the FDP with high force to try to keep this joint fixed. Otherwise, if this joint gets extended and this one is extended, I will not be able to hold anything in my little finger.
Amazing. I think I have the same issue with my little finger. Like.
And this is actually the video of me.
Okay.
So this is the video of me trying to pinch with the little finger. I will have to flex this forcibly because this one is extended.
Yeah, I see that.
If this function of the FDS is lost, some people, for example, people with rheumatoid arthritis or other deficient diseases, other diseases, I mean, it happens at the beginning that the PIP becomes extended and it is still supple. Then with time, the deformity becomes fixed. This deformity is not just, does not always happen because of the FDS deficiency. There are other causes as well. And other causes that are mainly the more important causes, like loss of the volar plate and other things. But essentially, if you fail to flex your PIP, eventually the PIP will become extended and it will become a fixed extension. And this deformity, they call it the swan neck deformity because it's similar to the shape of the swan, the neck of the swan. If your finger becomes fixed in this position, you will never be able to use it to pinch or to hold anything. So you can see now that each one of these tendons is performing a specific function that is very important. And its loss will cause dramatic changes and dramatic loss of different types of grasps that you are so accustomed to doing.
So actually, this is very clear evidence for design, because when you look at a system and you try to find a different configuration and you find that this one configuration that it is in is the optimum configuration, then you know that this is an intended design for the specific purpose. Because the search space of the different possibilities of configurations is quite big, and you actually have the sweet spot configuration, which cannot come by chance. It's very difficult to come by chance.
Of course. Yes.
Amazing. This is
this was a look at the flexor tendons. The beauty of the flexor tendons, these are the tendons that are on the front of the joint. But the finger does not end here. When Allah says perfecting his finger or perfecting the banan, it does not end at the front of the finger. There is a whole other story that is happening on the back of the finger. Okay? So this is a side view that we looked at, and this is the back view that is looking at the finger from the back, from the top, rather than from the front or the bottom. So we have here something on the back of the three bones of the finger that is called the extensor expansion, because it is the collection of tendons and fibers that will cause extension of the finger when they work. This extensor expansion is
it pulls it from the bank to make it spread, to bring it upwards, so that it becomes straight.
Yes, to bring it upwards and it becomes straight, and that's what we call extension.
I see.
So this extensor expansion is actually a very complicated structure with many divisions and branches and so on. But the main two parts in it are the central band. This is the tendon that comes from the muscles of the forearm that are in this area. This central band, this is the back, this is the top view, and this is the side view of the finger. The central band, as you see, continues until it is inserted into the middle bone. As you see here, it is continued until it is inserted into the back of the middle bone. So when it pulls on the area, it will cause extension of this joint and that joint as well. Then we have these two lateral bands that we talked about before, the intrinsic muscles. They pass in front of the MCP, but they eventually go to the back of the finger to get inserted onto the back of the most outer bone, or the distal bone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
From the top view, as you see here, the insertion is here. The lateral band goes this way and it continues all through here until it ends by inserting into the terminal tendon. Okay?
Wow. Okay.
So the central tendon mainly inserts into the middle bone, and the
Uh-huh.
lateral bands coming from the inner side and the outer side mainly continue to insert until they reach the outer bone, or the final bone.
They
Okay?
they have attachment alongside the finger until it's almost right before its tips.
Yes.
Yeah, and they have
Okay.
multiple insertion points in the or they just go straight to the front and attach there.
Actually, their main insertion is in this area, but there are interconnecting fibers and a lot of
Mm.
transmission of fibers from between the central tendon mainly and the lateral bands and so on over the extensor expansion. And that's why we call it the extensor expansion. It is like a hood of
Yeah.
fibers that is covering the back of the finger. Inside
Okay.
this hood, you can discern a central area and two lateral or side areas, but it is
Yeah.
in essentially a hood that is covering the
Uh,
whole finger. Okay,
yeah. The amount of details is huge. Do you have like a specialty in orthopedics,
of
like
course.
doctors who only deal with fingers? Because this is completely crazy in terms of complication.
Yes, of course. We have a lot of my friends. They are and colleagues. They are hand surgeons. They are specifically specified in the hand.
Okay, because given this huge amount of complication, you need somebody who really spends his life getting experience with those intricate details, so he can really do a surgery efficiently. Because this is a huge amount of details.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
So if you look at the MCP, these lateral bands that we are talking
mm,
about are passing in front of the MCP, but to the back of the PIP and the DIP. So
mhm.
when the lateral band pulls on the extensor expansion, it will
Mhm.
actually flex this joint forwards, but cause extension of these two distal joints. But when the central band pulls on the extensor expansion, it will cause extension of these three joints. Do you get?
Yeah,
Are you with me?
three or only two?
This central one, because it is passing on the back,
Uh huh.
it will cause extension of this one and that one. And through these intricate fiber connections, it will cause some degree of extension of the distal one as well.
I see. I see. And then
Okay?
the rest of it will happen through the intrinsics.
Yes. The
Okay.
intrinsics, on the other hand, when they pass in front of this joint and they are contracted, they will
Mm.
flex this one but extend the whole finger. Okay?
Including the final tip.
Yes. This amazing ability is important to be able to perform two different positions of extension.
Hmm.
Sometimes you need an extension of the whole finger and the metacarpal. So the
Uh huh.
MCP is extended, the PIP is extended, and the DIP is extended. So now
When you're pointing.
yes, so the central tendon here is in action to produce this whole extension movement. Like, as you said, when you are pointing at something. Okay?
Wow.
But when you want the other side, when you want the fingers extended but the MCPs flexed, the intrinsics that
Hmm.
are coming from here are the ones that will take over mainly to be able to produce this specific movement, which is very important when you are trying,
Ah.
for example, to pull a tissue or pull somebody else's hand or pull something with your
Amazing.
extended fingers.
Amazing.
So
So if you're pointing, you are primarily using this central thing, and
yes,
when you are doing this pulling of a tissue or something, you're using the intrinsics.
yes, you are primarily using the intrinsics. Yes.
Wow,
So
subhanallah.
this, though it seems to be an extension movement in the end, but there is a small single muscle and tendon that is designed in a specific manner and in a certain place to produce that specific movement. And if this is lost, the function will be lost as well.
Wow, subhanallah. Really, بلا قادرين على أن نسوي banana is really saying here.
Yeah.
It's really saying. Okay.
So
It's telling the story. It's telling the story. It says, we are indeed, nay, we are indeed capable of perfecting the fingers. So, and if you don't know what it takes to perfect the fingers, then you don't know what the ayah is talking about. But when you know, then you appreciate it, and this is very consistent with إنما يخشى الله من عباده العلماء. Absolutely.
Yes.
When you know what it's talking about, you appreciate what it's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked, when we're talking about the optimum design for the grasp, we talked about the skin and the arches of the hand. Then we talked about the movements of the different joints of the finger being interrelated to each other. The other point now is the movement of the different fingers are interrelated to each other. So this movement, this finger is not moving out of context from that one or that one or that one. Though you are able to produce specific degrees of movement with each finger independently, yet they are not completely independent. They are related to each other, and moving one of them will eventually cause some degree of movement in the other as well.
Yes.
For example, when we attempt to extend the fingers, the extension of the fingers is interrelated. And this is because these extensor tendons that are going into the fingers are linked to each other with junctions or slips that join them together. So if one of them pulls this finger through the slip, it will cause some degree of extension of that finger as well. When this one contracts and pulls the finger through this slip, it will cause extension. So it is, yes, pulling this ring finger mainly, but it is again causing some degree of extension of the middle finger as well.
All right.
So if you see here, if I'm trying, my fingers are flexed, and I'll be trying to extend the fingers. When I extend one of them, you will find that the others will eventually and smoothly start to get into extension. When I use this, these open, I can't control them. If you look again, especially in the fourth and the fifth fingers, after I open this one and this one, these one have to open. Even if I try to prevent them from opening, they will start to open as well. So the extension movement between the fingers is related.
Okay.
The flexion movement is related as well, because the four slips that come from the FDP are eventually attached to one single muscle. So when this muscle bulk contracts, it will contract mainly pulling one finger, but the other fingers will be pulled as well. So some degree, so yes, this is the main moving finger, but the other ones will be flexed to a certain degree as well.
With it, yeah.
If you look at me trying to flex the fingers, when I flex this one, eventually the ones in the end will start to flex. So this gives you a smooth ability to, when you're grasping an object, to relate the different positions of the fingers in space in the exact coordinated degree between them to be able to grasp the subject, the object efficiently. You get what I mean?
Yeah. There is no jitter in the movement is smooth, so there is also like mechanical intelligence in the system.
Yes, and for example, in this position,
the fingers are designed to be part of a hand, not just to be fingers.
Yes. If for example, I pause the video at this position here. When this degree of flexion of the index finger is present, this degree of flexion of the middle finger will be present, and this degree of flexion of this ring finger will automatically be present, so that eventually, if I'm grasping something, it will go into the cup of my hand. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I cannot have this position here without these others being in that position. So
unless you really concentrate and you use some of the other tendons to cause like an artificial extension of the rest of the fingers because you want to do a specific gesture or something. But otherwise, if you're just doing your normal thing, the system will mechanically put itself into a state that is good for grasping or handling things.
Yes. I'll give you, I'll just show you the effect of trying to dissociate the movements of the fingers in a few seconds. Okay.
Okay, because I
So
was trying it with my fingers already.
I mean, they are coordinated. The movements of one finger is related to the degrees of movement of the other finger as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is also a relation between the lengths of the fingers on the front of the tendons on the front and the tendons on the back. So it is not just a relation of the movements of the extensors with each other or the flexors with each other, but
Mm-hmm.
the flexors and extensors of the same finger are also, there is a design between them to coordinate the movement.
Uh-huh.
Actually, if you look at, if I try to flex this finger, as you see in the lower part of the picture, these
Mm-hmm.
two tendons will be pulling the finger downwards. For that
Uh-huh.
to happen, these tendons that are on the back of the finger will be stretched down
Yeah.
passively.
Yeah.
So these one are contracting actively, and these ones are being passively stretched.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
they will be passively stretched up to a certain maximum point when they reach their tensile strength.
Yeah.
After that, even if you attempt to flex further with the actively flexing tendons on the front,
Mm-hmm.
your finger will not be able to move any further in flexion. You
Yeah.
understand me?
Yeah.
So the passive tension in these extensors
Mm.
acts as a restraint to the degree of movement that is allowed by the flexors. And the opposite is true. When I attempt to extend the fingers as much as I can, the flexors will be passively stretched. And
Mm.
so there is a relation between the length and tensile strength of the extensors and the length and the tensile strength of the flexors. Just the right exact amount is there to create the degree of movement of full flexion or the degree of movement of full extension that is needed.
So when you will fully flex the finger, it will be exactly straight. It will not, for example, reverse to the other side and touch the back of your hand.
Yes, because the
Okay.
flexors have been pulled to their maximum stretched point.
And does that, by one way or the other, protect the joints from going into a reverse position and scratching against the cartilages or against each other or cutting the vascular system or whatever?
Actually, I don't think that it is there for protection as
Mm.
much as it is there for stability and function.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
because yes, because the lengths are exactly the
matched.
right lengths matched. So when you want to point, you are pointing. It will be automatically straight. And I'm actually looking at my finger now.
Yes.
Subhanallah, so it's quite
Supposedly,
straight.
I'll give you an example that will make it very clear. Suppose we
Mm,
have a person who gets this tendon injured.
mm,
Okay.
mm, mm,
And
mm,
because this tendon is injured, a part of the tendon is lost, and the
mm.
doctor goes in and sutures the two split parts that with a lost segment in the middle.
So it's
So
shorter now.
this tendon will eventually become shorter. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
since the length here is has become shorter, if this person attempts to flex using these tendons, he still won't be able to flex the joint. He won't be able to
Yeah,
flex his finger. The finger
yeah,
will be stiff in extension because the
yes.
length of the extensors is no longer in coordination with the length of the flexors.
It cannot go all the way until the whole finger is completely folded inside the palm.
Yes. So
Yeah.
it's not just the beauty of the design, it is how even the length of the individual segments is correlated with the length of the other segments to give you the function that you need.
Yes, amazing, subhanallah.
I'm showing here that
Amazing,
the
subhanallah.
extensor system is moved distally or is moved downwards with flexion of the finger. If you look at the edge of the extensor expansion, it was way before the joint. But here it is almost at the level of the joint because it has been pulled forwards when the finger was flexed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. It's again, the hand is designed to be a hand, to be a complete system that's working in harmony. Fingers are designed to be fingers that are part of a hand. The muscles of the arm itself that are connected to the tendons and to the other muscles that go branch and wrap around the fingers and the palm and the metatarsals and everything, metacarpals, I'm sorry, all of those are there because they are very intricate parts of a system that will do a very delicate function. And the thing here is that this is a system design, not just design of some parts that came together and they lived happily ever after because they
Yeah.
they accommodated each other. No, it is intentional design to the millimeter and to the part of the
Yes.
millimeter. Yeah.
Yes, intentional design in relation of the position of the different tendons in relation to the joints, and the
Yeah.
lengths of the different tendons in relation to each other, and the
Yeah.
position of the joints as one of them moves and causes some degree of movement of the other, and the
Mm.
position of the different fingers where one of them moves to cause and causes some degree of movement in the other as well. Everything is correlated. It's not haphazard. It is specifically designed to give you the function that you need.
And even the lengths and breadths of the finger bones, so that when they fold they will fit nicely in the palm. They will not,
Yeah.
like, poke in the palm or something.
Yes,
They
I'll give
just
you an
fit
example.
nicely.
You just fast forward to one or two
Oh,
slides
really?
ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So
It was a movie spoiler.
still talking about the relation of the flexor tendon lengths and the extensor tendon lengths together. For
Mm-hmm.
example, if I'm attempting now to fix my fingers in a flexed position and
Mm-hmm.
try to extend only one finger,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
So will I be able to extend that finger fully? The index, yes, but if you look at the
Mm-hmm.
middle finger, I cannot extend it to the end. This one is
Mm.
far from full extension, and this one is far from full extension. Because the flexor tendons that are connected here are
Ah.
kept in this position, I won't be able to. So, I mean, this joint, this finger is flexed, okay?
Mm.
So the
Mm.
extensor tendons of this finger are fully stretched to the maximum. And
Ah.
because the extensor tendons of the different fingers are connected by the slips, the
Mm.
extensor here are also pulled to the stretched
Mm-hmm.
forwards. So they are
Mm-hmm.
unable to produce the full extension of the other fingers.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just giving you examples of how the movement of the fingers are related to each other.
Are interrelated. Yes. Yes. So it's a
Okay,
complete system. Yeah.
this is the opposite when I attempt to keep my fingers extended but attempt to flex the other fingers.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the index, I reach this level, I reach this with the middle finger. Here, I cannot produce almost, I cannot produce full flexion
Yeah.
because I'm keeping the other ones extended.
Yeah.
Okay. Even if I'm trying to do my best here. If you
Yeah.
look here, I'm
Yeah.
trying to do my best to flex the finger as much as I can. This one, I'm trying to do it the best that I can, but I'm
Yeah.
keeping the others extended so it cannot flex any further.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Even if the FDP, for example, is prevented from performing its function, prevented from flexing, the
Mm-hmm.
other the other tendon, which is the FDS,
Mm.
will not be able to flex the finger fully. It will flex only the PIP.
Okay.
What
Yeah, because you are preventing the other fingers from
is I'm
moving. So
preventing
at the
them
end of
from
the day,
being
yeah.
I'm preventing the tips of the fingers from being flexed. So I'm
Yeah.
preventing the FDP from acting.
Yeah.
Okay? And since the FDPs of the different fingers are connected, the FDP
Mm.
of this finger as well is unable to act. It
Yeah.
cannot contract, it cannot pull because it is reaching its maximum stretch here. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the only movement here I get from the FDS only. So this is
Mm-hmm.
the only joint that flexes. The other distal joint does not flex because the FDP
Yeah.
is prevented from working. not by preventing it in this finger, but by preventing it in the other fingers. So again, the movement of one finger
I'm
affects
trying it,
the
and
other
I'm
fingers.
trying it, and it's actually very funny.
Yeah. So
So,
you're flexing the middle joint, but you cannot flex the outer joint, the
absolutely,
final
it's
joint. Yeah.
nobody could have guessed that. But this is complete evidence that those are not just, like those independent parts. It's a system that is meant to work together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Quite
the
funny.
final effect of the interrelated movements of extension and flexion of the fingers is this
Mm,
final effect: to be
mhm,
able to give you a harmonious, smooth movement, as you can see,
mm,
that allows the fingers to move in unison in a coordinated function to be able to
mm.
grasp as much as you can.
Because
Okay?
there is not only the control of the nervous system to the muscles, but there is also mechanical interconnectedness that causes the mechanical system itself to respond to the movement of its parts to the
In
extent that
coordination.
the motion will be smooth,
Yes.
not only because of the nervous and muscular system, but also because of the tendon system.
Yes. Yes.
Ah, amazing.
Okay?
Never
If you
thought of
noticed
this.
in these two videos that I talked about,
Hmm.
while attempting to extend or flex the fingers, the some fingers are restricted more than others.
Mhm,
So the index finger here, I can extend it fully in spite of the other
mhm,
ones being flexed, not
mhm,
like the other three fingers.
hmm.
Simply when I go with the flexion
Ah.
movement, I can flex the index as much as I can, more than the other ones. So
Hmm.
the one with the maximum freedom is the index. And this is
Hmm.
important for the pinching functions with the thumb.
Ah. I see.
The index finger does not only move in flexion and extension, but it moves sideways as well. If you attempt to move it
Sideways.
sideways, you will be able to move it sideways. Okay?
Yeah.
This
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
this side or abduction movement is very important to provide resistance to the thumb when you attempt to grasp something by the pad, the lateral pad pinch. When actually you are trying to pinch something to the side of the index. If there is no
Hmm.
power in the index that pushes outwards towards the
Sideways.
thumb, it won't be able to
Ah.
hold the key. So there is
Oh.
a movement here, not just flexion and extension, but also sideways movement to be able to give you that key pinch. Okay?
Wow.
So the index
Amazing.
finger, yes, it is related to the movements of the other fingers because it will be involved with them with the power grasp, but it has
Hmm.
independent function as well, and the most independent one of the fingers to be able to perform the pinching
Abduction.
movements that are needed with the thumb, like the key pinch and the
And
precision grasp.
this would be reflected in the adjoining of the tendons in the back of the hand. So you will see more connections between the other fingers versus
The index,
the
yes,
index. Yeah. Okay.
yes, yeah.
Can we see it?
No, I don't have a picture of it, but
Okay. I
and
think
there
it
is
would.
actually the index finger has an additional tendon for itself called the extensor indices that is not found in the other fingers,
Ah, really?
specifically for the index.
Wow. So it is as if the possible, not as if, it is that the possible movements of the hand that will give us all the possibilities that we use in our daily lives is actually an intended set of movements. And there are
Yes,
the engineered components that make those possible.
yes, of course.
Wow.
Okay.
SubhanAllah. All right.
I know it's a heavy presentation, but
No,
I hope you're enjoying it.
it's quite fun, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I will. Yeah.
All right.
Amazingly, again, if you look at this specific amazing part that is important for grasping as well, the
Mm-hmm.
fingers have different lengths, as you can see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And actually, if you look at the little finger, it usually ends at the DIP of the index finger. Okay. At
Okay.
the level of the DIP of the index finger.
Mm-hmm.
But these fingers that are of different lengths,
Mm-hmm.
amazingly, when they flex, they are all of equal length.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the
Wow.
design of the bone lengths here and the position of the joints in each finger is specifically prepared so that when these joints flex in relation to the lengths of these bones and the lengths of the fingers as a whole, you will end up with a set of equal fingers in the end. And this is very important for grasping. For example, if you attempt to grasp something and this one is taller than the others, it will reach its position here and block and prevent you from continuing with the other movement, with the other fingers. So when they
Yeah.
are resting in the palm, they have to be all equal. But when they are extended, they are different in lengths to be able to give you different sets of reaching out to the different objects around you.
Wow. And it also makes you be able to create a perfect fist so that if you punch somebody, you will not break your fingers.
Yeah, okay,
The
yes.
punch will actually be distributed to a surface that is a plane surface. There is
Yes,
no, no protrusion of one finger versus the
yes.
others. So it will take, for example, the whole impact and break. The impact
So
will
this
always be,
amazing action
yeah.
here will not happen unless the lengths of the bones and the position of the joints in the finger are properly designed to a certain يعني to a very detailed يعني situation to be able
Mhm.
to end up with equal fingers upon flexion but completely different lengths when they are extended.
Wow.
Okay.
It's the number of variables that if somebody is designing this from scratch without having the model of a hand in front of him to be able to produce all of this is totally out of the charts for a mind, for a human mind, for example, to figure out the perfect design to satisfy all of those constraints and parameters.
By
It's
the way, if you look at this part here as well,
yeah.
the
Mm.
rotation of the fingers is adjusted as well to be all of them pointing towards the central area. So when they flex, this one is rotated to point towards the central area. This one is rotated in the opposite direction to point towards the central area. So that it's not just about the length, but it is also about the rotation that is all moving towards a central area here where the object is being held or the object is being uh, um, handled.
Amazing.
Okay.
So
Well, the
they
final
they
thing,
they group they group together and like in a converging shape.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
The final thing about the design for grasp, of course,
Mm.
this is just a simplification. There are a
Mm.
lot. Yani if you study, people spend their whole life studying the hand and studying the intricate designs inside the hand. So I'm just giving
Mm.
examples and simplifications here, but there are a lot of other amazing stuff as well.
Mm.
The final thing is that there is also a relation. So we understood that there is a relation between the PIP, the DIP, and the MCP of each finger. We
Mm-hmm.
understood that there is a relation between the movements of one finger and the other fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And there is also a relation between the movements of the fingers and the wrist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, by
Mm-hmm.
the same concept, the tendons that are passing to the back of the fingers are actually passing on the back of the wrist. So when
Mm-hmm.
this wrist is flexed as much as you can, يعني when this wrist is flexed forwards,
Mm-hmm.
these tendons are stretched to their maximum limit. Okay?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So when you attempt to flex the finger further in this position, the
Mm.
tendons of the extensor side or the back side are already stretched to their maximum limit. So they will not allow you to further flex them and move them in a further stretching.
Yeah.
So you will never be able to flex your fingers if your wrist is flexed.
You
Try
cannot
it
make
now.
you cannot make a perfect fist because
You cannot even flex your
yeah,
fingers at all.
yeah,
Try to do it, you would not be
yeah,
able to flex your fingers.
yeah, yeah.
Okay?
All
On
right.
the other hand, you have a very powerful grip and ability to flex your fingers powerfully, very purposefully, and in a strong fist if the
Mm.
wrist is extended backwards.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay? So that's
Amazing.
why all of the movements that we use with the wrist in extension.
Uh-huh.
Very
Okay.
powerful movements and grabbing movements are done with the wrist and extension. So there is again a relation between the movement and the direction of the wrist and the position of the wrist in space, and the strength and the movement and the direction of the fingers. It is not
So
haphazard. Everything is calculated.
the wrist has enough degrees of freedom to avail more tendon flexion to the
Length,
fingers, so that you can have a very
yes,
strong grasp, because you can
strong,
flex them more.
yes,
And hence, if you want to grab something and pull it backwards or forwards, we always do this automatically. we
yes.
we,
And
we
the more
bring
power
our
you need, the more
yeah.
power you need with your fist, you will find yourself extending your wrist further and further. If you're
Ah.
attempting to grab something that is very heavy, so you need an excessive power with your wrist, with your
Mm,
fingers, you will
mm.
automatically extend your wrist.
Extend, you mean to bring the back of my hand
Yes,
towards my chest. All right.
yes, to bring it backwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Wow.
So
This
again,
is
there is a
very.
relation between the wrist and the movement of the hand and the fingers.
Hmm.
The last thing, and this is the thing that I talked about when I was talking about the marvels of the skeleton as a whole, is
Hmm.
the thumb design, and
Hmm.
this is the innovation that gives the human hand its incredible abilities.
Hmm. Hmm.
You have a thumb that is different from the other fingers.
Hmm.
First, the orientation of the joint of the metacarpal.
Hmm.
Here, the metacarpal joint is in that plane for
Hmm.
the second, third, and fourth, and fifth
Hmm.
fingers.
Hmm.
But for the thumb, the orientation
Hmm.
of the joint is almost perpendicular on the other joints.
Hmm.
This perpendicular plane of movement will enable this thumb to oppose the other fingers and give the grasp and opposing functions of the thumb. The other major
Yeah. So
change in the thumb is that the thumb
Hmm.
is shorter.
Mm-hmm.
These fingers are composed of a metacarpal and then one, two, three fingers, three bones in the finger. But
Mm-hmm.
the thumb is composed of a metacarpal and only two bones in the finger.
Mm-hmm.
So the thumb does not have a PIP.
Hmm.
It has one joint only.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
This shorter thumb will enable the thumb to pinch the side of this finger and pinch the different parts to enable it to reach all of these areas, the pads in this area, the different fingers all over. So it will
Yeah.
enable the thumb to grasp from the other side.
It's also very
And
beneficial if you want to do tasbih on your hand.
yeah, I'm going to show this in the next video.
Really?
Yeah.
we have some telepathy going.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
And the third difference is the type of the joint. While the
Okay.
metacarpal joints of the carpometacarpal joints of the other fingers are plane joints, they actually have one plane of movement, which is deflection, extension, as we talked about. This one is an ellipsoid shaped joint. So the shape of the joint here is completely different from the shape of the joint in the other fingers, and this gives it 3 degrees or 3 axes of freedom. So it can
Wow.
move in almost all directions to be able to reach the other fingers and grasp with them. So this amazing design of the thumb, completely different from the other fingers, adds to the function of the hand almost 50% of the essential function of the hand by this thumb.
Wow.
So this
Subhanallah.
causes the thumb to have a free movement of what we call extension and flexion,
Mm-hmm.
extension and flexion,
Mm-hmm.
and another movement that we call in a different plane that we call adduction and abduction. So it is in a completely different
Okay.
plane. This is the same plane as the rest of the palm.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And the opposition movement is the ability to grasp and reach the thumb to the other fingers as well. So the final effect
Wow.
will be complete freedom of the movement of the thumb that is not found. This is the adduction abduction movement.
Uh-huh.
Okay. This is the flexion and the extension, flexion,
Mm-hmm.
and the
Mm-hmm.
opposition movement,
Mm-hmm.
or what we may call tasbih, and the lateral pinch and complete rotation ability of the thumb.
Yes,
Okay,
subhanallah. Yes, yes, amazing,
subhanallah.
amazing. The thumb is really, yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
is the
these are
center of the
all,
hand.
yes,
It is the
these are
center of
all
the
about the
hand, while it is actually at the tip. So yeah.
yes.
Hmm.
So these are all actually the amazing design parts of the mechanics of the hand and the design of the skin of the hand and the design of the hand itself. But if you have a look at somebody, for example, who is uh, paralyzed, he
Hmm.
has all of these mechanical structures in place, but they are non functioning. So all of this will fail without this incredible design of nerves that are supplying the hand with function, whether motor nerves to move the muscles or sensory nerves to take in the information. So let's not forget that the hand is just a tool that is controlled eventually by the neural control coming from the brain and the central nervous system. So it's not just a device, it is a device with control.
Yeah.
And the brain is the part that controls the acceleration, the deceleration, the amount of pressure, and all of the instantaneous decisions that you take when you attempt to grasp something and hold it.
Yeah.
In addition
Amazing.
to these amazing functions as an input device, as an output device, as a grasping device, and so on, the hand
Hmm.
is amazingly an expression of emotion.
Hmm.
Okay?
Hmm.
I'm going to
Hmm.
show you some pictures and you can tell me what emotions they indicate. Okay?
Right.
It's just a small game, yeah.
Hmm.
So, what
Uh,
would this give you?
care,
A
care,
sense of care. Okay.
love,
Okay.
trust, welcoming,
Peace,
peace. Yeah.
gratitude, maybe. Okay.
Hmm. Anger,
Anger. Okay.
I guess.
So the hand is an expressive device that gives you emotion as well. Okay.
Yeah. Also, care, love.
Love, kindness. Okay.
Hmm. Worried.
Worried, anxious,
Yeah.
anxiety.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, care, love. This is love
Love.
or
Okay.
intimacy. Intimacy. Yeah.
Love and intimacy. This is the famous
Uh,
high five.
yeah.
Okay.
Congratulations. All right.
And so
Thinking.
again,
Yeah.
thinking, yes,
Mm.
thoughtfulness or thinking or whatever.
Mm.
So it is not
Mhm.
just a mechanical device, it's not just a sensory device, it is also an emotional device. It expresses emotions as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just peace.
Mm.
Even the
Mhm.
fingertip, the banana
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
can give you
Yeah.
sensation as well.
Yes.
It
Yes.
can give you an emotion, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you look at the hand, there is the perfect design in every aspect. The perfect design as a sensory input device with
Mhm.
the uh, touch receptors and the pain receptors and so on. The
Mhm.
perfect design as an output device from which we get information that are identity specific, that uh, offer a testimonial to our actions.
Mm.
A perfect design to protect itself and preserve the individual and prevent itself from being harmed and even self repaired itself if it is injured. A
Yeah.
perfect design for grasping and handling with hundreds of different maneuvers and objects and things that can be grasped and controlled in a perfect control, and a
Yeah.
perfect expression of emotion as well.
Yeah.
As I was preparing for this presentation, I came across this paper and it was very interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
It is a paper that was published in the PLOS journal. This is the Public Library of Science journal.
Mhm.
And it
Mhm.
was entitled Biomechanical Characteristics of Hand Coordination in Grasping Activities of Daily Living. Okay. He was talking
Wow.
about the biomechanical characteristics of the coordination in the hand. But
Mm-hmm.
what and it is I think by some Chinese scientists. I think these
Uh-huh.
names Ming Jin Liu and so on. I
Yeah,
think they
yeah,
are Chinese or maybe Korean. I don't know.
yeah.
But what was amazing is that I found that this article was retracted. It was published in 2016. Okay,
Let me guess. Let me guess why. Probably because
I'll
somebody
tell
there
you why.
mentioned it's designed or something.
Okay, so look at what they taught, at what this article says in the abstract.
Uh-huh.
However, drawing a clear functional link between biomechanical architecture and hand coordination is challenging. It is not
Hmm.
understood which biomechanical characteristics are responsible for the coordination of the hand and what specific effect each biomechanical characteristic has. The
Wow.
explicit functional link indicates that the biomechanical characteristic of tendinous connective architecture between muscles and articulations is the proper design by the creator to perform a multitude of daily tasks in a comfortable way. The clear link between the
Wow.
structure and the function of the human hand also suggests that the design of a multifunctional robotic hand should be able to better imitate such basic architecture.
Probably they did not
Amazingly,
only retract.
yes,
Maybe this guy
in March,
disappeared altogether.
okay, so
Unbelievable.
this was published in January of 2016, okay?
Wow.
And it was retracted in March of 2016, just 3 months
Whoa.
later, okay?
Wow. Actually,
Why was
two
it
months.
retracted? Retraction by mechanical characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
Because following publication, readers raised concerns about language in the article that makes
Wow.
references to a creator and
Wow.
about the overall rationale and findings of the study. So it is not about the science mainly of the study, it is about the language used in the study. Okay? This evaluation
Wow.
confirmed
So,
concerns with the scientific rationale. They say that there is a problem with the scientific rationale as well. Presentation
uh-huh.
and language, which were not
Uh-huh.
adequately addressed during peer review. The
Wow.
editors apologized to the readers for the inappropriate language in the article. The inappropriate language, they mentioned the creator. This is an inappropriate language. And the errors during the evaluation
This is
process.
absurd.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
So
Okay.
the
And they are
scientists
so
themselves,
audacious
when they
actually to
looked,
say it.
yes, so the scientists themselves, when they looked into the biomechanical characteristics of the hand, they couldn't but say that this is the perfect design of the creator. And even the peer scientists who reviewed the article and eventually published it, and by the way, the PLOS is a Q1 impact factor, so it is very highly respectable journal. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It was peer reviewed
Mm-hmm.
and it was published, but
Mm-hmm.
it was received by the media and the other scientists as being inappropriate because it mentioned the creator. So they had to retract it. Because science cannot say that there is a creator behind this design.
This is really a very good example and an appalling also example because if you say that there is randomness and blind evolution, nobody will blame you. If you state the obvious that this can only happen as a product of design, then you are retracted. And then somebody will come and tell me or tell you or tell the media that science cannot show that there is a designer. While the real truth is that when science shows that there is a designer, you guys just retract the articles. What
Yes.
nonsense! And then somebody will come out and say, "But science cannot show us that God exists." It's not science that cannot show us. It is the people who are actually watchdogging the scientific publications and making sure that there is no mention for the truth behind such magnificent designs. Unbelievable,
Yes.
really. And
If
they
we
have
take
the
it
audacity
the final
to
step,
actually put it in writing.
yeah. If we take it the
Yeah.
final step forward, say this is the amazing human hand, okay? But well, scientists now are able to design robots, and
Yeah.
they have been successful in creating robotic hands that perform really amazing functions. If you look at them from maybe holding a cup or holding something that seems to be amazing achievement by the human being to be able to create a hand that can do this small, beautiful function. Actually, there was an article again published in this magazine called the Illumine magazine, published by the University of Southern California. And it says the magic touch, human anatomy inspires robotic hand design. And it was published in 2018. What does the abstract say? Recent research efforts are entertaining the idea that the key to creating a dexterous robotic hand may be in artificially recreating the muscle and tendon-based approach that controls the human hand. There are a host of challenges in replicating the human hand in robotics, many of which are due to a lack of knowledge of how human arm muscles are controlled by the brain. So scientists are trying to say, try to imitate the human hand as much as you can, but we still can't fully understand how the human hand functions. And that is what is preventing us from trying to successfully imitate the human hand. So when scientists design the robotic hands, okay, are robotic hands, even the most sophisticated ones, as efficient as human hands? I would say they would have 2% of the efficiency of the human hand. The ability to grasp different objects, yes, they are successful in grasping different objects, but not with the same variety and perfection as the human hand. The human hand will survive for maybe 80 to 90 years performing its function. I think if you get a robotic hand that works for maybe 20 years, it will be an amazing job. Okay.
With all of those details and all the joints and all the tendons and whatever they put in instead, you will need definitely to keep preparing and changing, and because it will lose at least its accuracy.
Yes.
Yeah.
The human hand is an amazing thing that grows. All of these incredibly perfectly designed lengths and relations that we talked about in the adult hand are there in a very miniature form in the baby's hand. And not just in the baby's hand, in the fetus's hand inside the womb. And it has this amazing ability to start as a baby and then grow into the full size of the hand with the same relations of lengths and coordinated movements as it was when it was a small hand. So tell me what robotic hand can perform this.
And while it's growing, it grows also in coordination. This is also amazing. So somebody who is 5 years old will have a hand that is well proportioned, and somebody who is 50 years old, the hand has grown, but every part has grown in harmony with the other parts. And this is also an amazing remark.
And the human hand also has the power to self-repair itself. If it is injured, even if the bones are broken, they self-heal, and you can restore the function again. So I guess this cannot happen in robotic hands.
Yeah,
and the rate of production
is that they heal while there is all of this amazing amount of detail. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Then
the rate of production of human hands. So I researched and I found that the worldwide birth rate is 4.3 new babies every second. Okay, so this means that our creator actually creates 8.6 hands per second.
Okay.
So this is an amazing factory that produces hands in an incredible number. Imagine the repetitive numbers of hands being created within each second. Okay?
Yeah, amazing.
So even if scientists are successful in creating a hand that does a few jobs, it is far, 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 far behind what the human hand can do.
Actually, if scientists do something that is comparable to a human hand, and then they tell us the amount of design and actually imitating the existing design. Yeah, hello.
Yes, I'm with you. Please continue.
And then they tell us about having to imitate the creator's design. I think this only stands as a testimony that this hand is designed, and that
Yeah.
when you wanted to reach an optimum, you could only imitate the biological hand that was created by a designer, obviously, which can only be God. And then they would have just testified that this is the optimal design. If you want to have something of that kind of function, this is how it should be.
Yes.
So, yeah,
That's what were the papers were saying, actually. If you want
absolutely.
to
Yeah.
design a functioning robotic hand, try to imitate the human hand as much as you can.
And save your effort.
Yeah.
Save your time.
If you can. It is not
If
easy
you
to imitate
can.
it because they
If
don't
you
yet fully
can.
understand it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
And just a last input or a last thought.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at a robotic hand that is designed for example, somebody who's an amputee to perform
Mm-hmm.
a certain function here, and you look at the amazing ability of this robotic hand to perform such a simple function as opening the zipper.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing that crosses your mind, oh, this is an amazing design. How can this thing perform that incredible function?
Mm-hmm.
Who is the person behind the design here who was able to adjust these pulleys and these systems and create the exact material thing that is needed to perform that function? So actually, the
Mm-hmm.
answer to this is that this person here, George DeVol, is the
Mm-hmm.
first designer of an industrially produced robotic arm or a robotic hand, and it was in the 1950s. So when
Mm-hmm.
you look at a robot that is operating, you obviously think that there is a designer behind the robot that is operating. But when you
Yeah.
look at the human hand, and instead of saying that yes, the incredible design here must show that there is a designer, you say no. But the robotic hand design is by a designer, because obviously it is a complex system that needs a designer. But when you look at the
Yeah.
human hand, well, here it just happened by chance. It just happened by randomness. These are random
Yeah.
events that led to complex functional results.
It's so
So I
unfair.
have a challenge here for the scientists who are claiming this,
Mm-hmm.
especially the robotics scientists. I challenge
Mm-hmm.
them to get a box and put some transistors and some circuits and some wires and some maybe metal pieces inside the box, and close the lid of the box for maybe 10 years or 100 years or maybe a million years. And then they claim that at the end of the million years, these amazing particles and transistors and things inside the box will have transformed themselves into an amazingly designed robotic hand. That is the exact claim that they are making when they are talking about the human hand.
Yeah, and even without even if they have themselves inside with the box, I think without the model, I think without the model of the human hand, they wouldn't have reached any far anyway.
Yes. So the claim is that the material was the organic material was there in space, and it just turned itself into nucleic material and proteins, and this haphazardly collected itself into cells that haphazardly collected in themselves into different tissues that haphazardly collected themselves into such intricate, complex designs in the end, happening by chance to create this marvelous device. It's just
Yeah,
absurd.
it's just absurd. Absolutely.
So there is no real actually solution or proof or answer to this problem other than there is a God. And God is our creator. And the hand, just like any other part of the body, just like any other thing that you look around in the universe, is really a testament for the presence of Allah. And this is how Allah has uh, asked us to find Him. He has told us, وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ, and in yourselves, don't you not see? If you just look inside yourselves and really look and see, you will find Allah. You will find the truth.
Yes, or
So we go back to the
yeah.
same verses that we started with. Does man think that we shall not gather his bones? Yes,
Yeah.
we were able even to perfect his fingertips. So it is not far that we will be able to resurrect him and gather him again.
And you can only appreciate it after this presentation.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, subhanallah. How about putting on your camera maybe once again? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so start cam.
Yeah. So wow, that was
It's been 3 hours. I don't know
yeah,
how this time passed. I
yeah.
actually, when I finished the presentation, I told my wife this time is going to be a short presentation. It's going to be about 1 hour. I don't know how time flew.
Well, because it's really exciting and so many details, and we are just on the hand, just one organ, which is part of a bigger mechanical system. And you said that there are even much more details that you had to overlook, because otherwise it will be crazily complex. And then that even after putting all those details, at the end of the day, still there is incomplete understanding of how it really functions at the end of the day, and how it's coordinated, and how the muscles and tendons and bones and neurons and sensory elements and motor elements and all this amazing and coordination, and this is and the vascular system also going in there to give it all its nutrients, etc. So a huge amount of parts. We have a rule in engineering that the number of problems, and hence the number of defects of any system, is proportional to the square of its parts. So if you have a system that has 10 parts and you have a system that has 100 parts, it will not be that the system that has 100 parts has 10 times the possible amount of problems. The system that has 10 parts will have 10 to the power 2 possible problems. So this is 100. But the system that has 100 parts has 100 to the power 2. So this is 10,000. And the system that you have shown us today has an amazingly excessive amount of parts. I don't think somebody has counted them. And the possibilities, the degrees of freedom those parts have, and the interactions between, it's completely amazing. And still it functions. And this is the totally amazing thing about it. It does function. And this is why in engineering systems we try to get away with a system with the minimum amount of parts, because otherwise solving the system will be incomprehensible to the human mind. And even with our best computers, it remains very difficult to solve. So amazing. And the real one possible response is, subhanallah, this was a completely amazing presentation. I don't know, maybe we should have split it into 10 parts or something. But yeah, I will ask the audience to, if you have joined in the middle or in the beginning and fell off it, come back and watch it on different parts. Share it with your loved ones. Share it with your children who are indoctrinated in secular education about how evolution has created this, and they give them a very small piece of the thing. And when you do this, and when you watch the 2.5 or almost 3 hour presentation, you will really appreciate why atheists are appalled from engineers and medical doctors, that they have this bias in the belief of a creator. So here you have one medical doctor and one engineer, and yes, we are amazed. And because we are sensible people, the only solution, as Dr. Amr has said, is that there is a designer, and not any designer. This cannot be a human. This cannot be aliens, like Richard Dawkins said, or some other atheists. They accept that maybe aliens created humans, but not God. So let's guess who is biased here. So Amr, that was really marvelous and really amazing. And I'm really intrigued maybe to think of doing this in Arabic, and because our Arabic speaking audience might also need to listen to this at some time. But this is really great, and thank you very, very much for your time. And I can only start to imagine how many hours it took you to prepare the presentation and collect the videos and even make photographs of your own hand. So, so
It
very
was actually it was nice, and I enjoyed preparing for the presentation and looking at these details. And I want to apologize for the audience for problems that happened with the connection today. It seemed to stabilize in the end, but in the beginning there was really a problem. But maybe
yeah.
next time, if there is a next time,
Inshallah,
we
there
will
will be.
we will try to be sure to prepare the connection in a better way, maybe in some other place other than home. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Maybe also there is a conspiracy from atheists or something. I don't think
anyway,
so. But
if
it
you like,
was,
you have the presentation itself. If you'd like to share it in any way, or anybody who wants it, I'm free. It's all just for one purpose of just spreading the word and making people understand more how this complex, amazing proof of Allah's presence. And so, everybody who wants to share it, you're welcome.
okay, so it's a good idea. So I would probably put it on the website, and in a couple of days or something, I will create a link if somebody wants to download the presentation and share it. Once again, thank you very much for everybody who is on this live stream. Please remember to like it and share it with loved ones. And let's have Dr. Amr once
I
again
hope it
after you
wasn't.
take a rest.
I hope it wasn't so complex, because there are parts that are really complex. I try to simplify them as much as I can and explain in using terms that are not medical to be able to understand. But I guess since you understood, then most possibly people who are not medical with a medical background will understand as well. So that's my hope, inshallah. Yeah.
Yes, inshallah. I trust we have some of the most smart audience around here, because people who believe in God are typically smart. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
So thank you, Amr, very much for this great presentation, and to everyone, thank you for being here. Please share this, and I will be now putting the extra, and wish you all to have some contemplation on this, and thank Allah Subhanahu wa Taala for giving us all those great parts in our body that we don't need to worry about them, and to thank him and to use our hand for doing some tasbih also. So have a great night. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Peace be upon you all. I'll just now put the extra and call it a presentation. Here we go.